Hey y'all, welcome to the Healing Space Live and Online Chats with Roxanne and Rhonda, the podcast where guests will share information and research on self-love, living a wellness-filled life, how to heal from traumatic events, and more. This podcast is sponsored by Healing Hearts and Minds Publishing, LLC, a new company that publishes books that promote self-love, healthy relationships, avoidance of unhealthy relationships, and much, much more. Check out their first publication, Unhealthy Relationships, Let's Stop the Madness, a guide for those in unhealthy relationships and for those who want to help them. Written by first-time author and co-host of the Healing Space Live and Online, Roxanne Elizabeth Epperson. Visit Amazon.com to purchase the paperback or ebook. Enjoy the show. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Healing Space Live and Online Chats with Roxanne and Rhonda. We are delighted that you have taken time to join us this week. If you are regularly following us, we appreciate you. And if this is your first time you're tuning in, we welcome you. We hope that you will listen to previous recordings, which can be found on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, and many more platforms. I think we're on Stitcher now. We're on about 16 different platforms, but we named the main ones right there. Now, today is our 8th episode, and what I didn't know, Rhonda shared with me, that the number 8 represents new beginnings. Oh. So we'd like to remind everyone of the focus of our podcast, which is centering around healing from abusive relationships, self-love, self-care, and building healthy relationships, because there is such a thing. Okay, healthy relationships. Remember that, y'all. There is such a thing. Now, today's guest is bravely sharing her story of surviving an abusive intimate relationship. As you listen to her, and if you find you need someone to talk to, if you might be triggered by something she says, please contact your local DV hotline, or you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. Now, our guest today is Dr. Terrace Moss, also known as the online strategist. She's an author, an educator, and a professional writer who has been writing in corporate America for over 25 years. She's the president of Moss Consulting, LLC, which has been providing project management services and clinical research in pharmaceutical, healthcare, and insurance sectors since 1999. Recently, due to COVID, Moss Consulting transitioned to focus on providing online education products, most notably Dr. Moss author coaching Writing for Impact program and e-learning accelerator, or LEAP program, and that's capital LEAP program. Dr. Moss's education includes a PhD in biomedical informatics. I don't even know what that is. She has a MBA. Well, she has an MBA, and she has a master's in health sciences and a nursing license. Her research on African American women comorbidities. Did I say that correctly? Did I pronounce that? Okay, cool. And health disparities has been cited in journals globally. Finally, Dr. Moss's passion is to use her gifts to assist others to rise above self-limiting beliefs to become their personal best. She is an expert at developing training and development strategies based on personalized learning styles. Dr. Moss is married to her best friend, Leon Moss, and they have one son, Terrace Moss. Now, I know Dr. Moss from a mastermind group that we have belonged to for almost a year. Mm-hmm. And I just learned from her bio that she's Dr. Moss. Congratulations, Dr. Moss. I know her as Terrace, but today she is Dr. Moss, and will be from this point forward. Okay.
Well,
Okay, so we've asked her to share her abuse story and how she survived it. Afterwards, we're going to, Rhonda and I will ask her a few questions. So, Dr. Moss, I now turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Roxanne, and thank you, Rhonda, for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very graciously honored that you chose to have me in this forum. So, my story is probably similar to a lot of stories, but basically, I fell in love with a man that was my dream. You know, he was someone that I just swept me off my feet. He just showered me with what I thought was love, and I thought he was the answer to my prayers. But during our marriage, what happened was he started slowly becoming more controlling, I would say. You know, the abuse that I went through didn't start till maybe a year or so after we were married. I found first that what he started to do was kind of separate and alienate me from my family and friends. He would get extremely jealous. At the time, about 50 pounds ago, I was actually modeling, and you know, that would cause me to have to be with, you know, other men, and, you know, and modeling. And he got jealous of that, you know, when I was doing a show or fashion show, and he would always want to be around. And I found that he was starting to get a little bit more controlling, and so forth. So the abuse started more verbal abuse, more correcting me in front of others, and not allowing me to speak or so forth, or kind of anything that kind of like in a sense will bring me down a peg. At the time, my self-esteem, I pretty much had a good self-esteem, but I found you know, that he would do things or say things to try to make me feel that there was something wrong with me. And so that went on for a while, you know, and then when he found that he was having a hard time controlling me and what I was saying, he started alienating me with my friends. He started saying, you know, pointing out things that was wrong with my friends, and even family members, right? And try to separate me, and make me feel that, you know, no one had my back, or no one was trying to, you know, be in my best interest but him. So I do have to say now, to understand why I believe that this man had this kind of control over me was, my husband is ex-husband, I should say. It was a very charismatic person. He was someone that was a natural born leader. He was someone that was well regarded in the church. He had held a higher position in church. And at the time, I was made to feel like I was, you know, I had the prize or something, you know. Even when I would go to church with them, like I hit the jackpot, and so forth. Little did I know that he was also very narcissistic in his behavior. So he, when there was a shine on me, like with modeling or whatever else I was doing, that would trigger something in him that caused him to lash out on me. So again, the abuse started with verbal abuse, and then it eventually progressed with physical abuse, and that was over a span of maybe 2 years. 2 years for the progression to happen. During those 2 years, I found myself alienated. I had already broke ties with all my girlfriends that I used to be connection with. I found myself, I didn't you know, I gave up the extracurricular activities I used to do with like modeling and all of that. I didn't do that anymore. And I just kind of just everything centered around him. him. Um, it was also a time, and I just want to bring this up, where when I was speaking, my husband would also like lash out, and he'll hit me. He'll hit me for talking. So what I would do is I started a journal. I would express myself in writing. Little didn't I know that that was why my talent today is writing and helping others communicate. But that's how I was able to survive and go through that. I had in my own little world, I had my journal. I would write my feelings or whatever, and I found that that was the way that I was able to survive that experience. Yeah, so I think I you know, to this day, I feel, you know, up until recently, I feel very ashamed. You know, I would not share this with anyone, but as Roxanne mentioned, we are in this mastermind together, and I thought that, you know, by sharing my story, that it could help other women. And so I'm doing a leap of faith and doing that.
Well, I thank you very, very much. And wow, you kind of like answered the kind of like the next question, because I wanted to know, I was going to tell you, you know, there's so many survivors who are not ready to share their stories. And I know, I can't tell you how many women I know who work in the field, and they're still not ready for whatever reasons, you know, and everybody tells their story when they want to tell it. When I told mine, I had the nerve of telling it in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Now that was telling the story. I'm like,
wow.
I couldn't believe I had the nerve to do something like that, you know, but I did. And here I am still telling it. But because I was going to ask you if you could share how you got to this level of safety to, you know, even to feel comfortable to tell your story.
Well, let me answer that because I didn't fully answer that.
Okay.
I'm not 100% there. Even right before this meeting, I prayed, and I asked my Heavenly Father. I said, "Look, if there's any woman out there that's going to benefit from this message, just use me, but be with me." So I'm not 100% there. You have to understand that when you say safety, right? I'm comfortable. I know that this person is in my past, and there's no chance of physical harm from this person again. But I have buried all of this abuse. I started a whole new life with a new person, a new career. I'm not the same person I was back then. So by sharing my story, is bringing up all that again. It's bringing up all that, you know, that hurt again. So so am I feeling safe to do this testimonial? No, I'm doing it because I think it will help someone else. I'm praying that it helps someone else. And I believe I'm still healing from that, from the situation. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say that it is going to help someone else. And I know this from personal experience. I can't tell you how many women have hugged me, thanked me, shared their story with me. And I was the first one they ever told this story to. They heard my story. They said, wow, she had the nerve to stand up there. So now I can do it. And we don't know, because our goal is to reach a minimum of 1 million women. So I know out of those 1 million women, somebody's going to hear your story and learn from it, because I'm telling you, it's too much to go through right now, but I was jotting down buzzwords from your story, and our stories are so similar. It's just ridiculous. I mean, even the time frame, the time that the length of time you was in the relationship, you know, the alienation, the verbal abuse, self-esteem, all of it. It's just amazing. So there is a pattern that I'm seeing here with all of our stories, and you definitely are helping someone.
Yeah,
So okay, so my
Roxanne,
next, go
well,
ahead. I'm
before
sorry.
you move on, I'd like to say it's really ironic that you said share that, because I have a writing program where I'm helping women with that's going through traumatic experiences. One of them has been abused, but other experiences too. Write their story, right? And by sharing my story, I get them to communicate on a level that's, that I wouldn't be able to. They're able to relate to me better. They know that I'm not being judgmental, which is
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I'm worried about, sharing my testimonial. And then in corporate America, I have to wear this hat of being in charge and all of this other stuff. And then, sharing that vulnerability. But I'm finding that the more within my writing program, as I share that story, it really helps other people share their story,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And I really like what you talked when you talked about the journaling, because as you know, I just published my first book where I incorporate some of my story with some research-based evidence, and one of the healing mechanisms is journaling.
Right.
So I'm glad you mentioned that was healing, helped you through that experience.
Right.
So the next question is. Okay, so like I said, I know most of our listeners know that I'm a survivor of domestic violence. And as I've reflected on my relationship, I do realize that I've missed some red flags. So can you tell me, did you miss any?
Well, I'm in retrospect, I would say there was some red flags, more the controlling,
Yep.
but I interpret it differently. In the beginning of the relationship, I interpreted, oh, this man really loves me, so he wants to make sure that, I'm safe, or everything's, being done the correct way. I didn't interpret it as controlling. Narcissistic. He wanted to be in the limelight, and he wanted to dim my shine per se. So I think now that is a red flag, definitely. And also the separation, making sure that you don't have any support, that even with my family and friends, just trying to keep me away from anyone else that could possibly do a reality check or or offer me that support. So yeah, those are red flags that I would definitely identify right now. So
Dr. Moss, thank you so much for your story, for sharing it. As Roxanne said in the introduction, you're going to bravely share it, and it does take a sense of bravado. I'm glad to know that you also have the physical safety, that's not a concern for you. And I'm going to say, you opened by saying you pray to your Heavenly Father, so I know it's okay to say that I'm going to continue to keep in prayer for you to heal on the emotional side as well, because that can be ongoing. It's little things that can trigger us. Out of anywhere, just out of nowhere, something we hear or something we see, odor or a scent that comes to us, something can take us back to that moment. So I'm certainly going to be in prayer with you and for you as well to continue the journey of the emotional healing for sure. So thank you so much. So I'm going to transition just a little bit, still on the topic, but in your introduction that Roxanne read, your bio says that you're married to your best friend, Leon Moss. So thumbs up to Leon for being a best friend and a husband and a father in your world. So I'm really glad to hear that for sure. So can you talk a little bit about, can you just share a little bit about how you found strength and the wisdom to move on into that new relationship, to have that trust and to know that it was safe and that it is safe to reconnect with somebody on that level?
yeah, so Leon is an exceptional human being. When we were dating, I brought some bags along with me. So but we dated for a few years and he was very patient with me. One of the things that I know that is carried over to my current marriage is the respect. He showed me utmost respect. He would never, even if he disagreed with something, he would never put me in a position where we didn't come out as a united front. He would never embarrass me. That was a totally different situation. And another thing is he was acceptance of me. Like I found with my previous marriage, I always had to be what was acceptable to him. I couldn't be my authentic self. Leon accepts me exactly how I am. All quirks, all the good, bad, ugly, whatever he accepts the true me, and I'm allowed to be my authentic self, and that's allowed me to do so many things, personal growth things. Just having that partner that says, if you fell at something, so what? I still got your back. We're like yin and yang. He's just as an example, he's been at the same job for 20 something years. He's an environmental engineer, works for DEP. Me, I've had maybe 12 jobs in the last 20 years. So, he's like, are you going to stick with this one? I'm like, well, I don't know. So we're like yin and yang. He's my rock. He's my solid thing. And I needed that. But mostly important is teamwork. I had a son late in life. Most people are grandparents at this age, but my son's 23 and second year, and we raise him to be a strong Black male, and we do this as teamwork together. So that, and my son will know how to treat his wife by the way his father is an example how he treats me. And finally, I'm going to say I'm a person that I have to see the love, and Leon does small gestures of love. He found out what my love language was. And I'm the type of person, flowers and whatever is nice, but I like, if you clean up the kitchen, I like acts of service. Like, that's showing me you love me, because that's showing me that you respect my time. I'm not, whatever. So he's keyed on that. He reads my love language, and it's been a good partnership. So
Wow.
That's beautiful to hear you say, because hearing how he learned your love language early on and he respects that is so different from what your past experience was. So that is absolutely wonderful, because your previous experience that you described, even though we don't want to categorize him, we do look at some, and Roxanne used the word patterns. There are some patterns that we definitely see in controlling relationships. Thanks for introducing the word control, because that's really what it's about. The person wants to have control over your thoughts, your thoughts, your actions, your whereabouts, the clothes that you wear, everything, the people you talk to. And actually, the description of your ex-husband sounds like a classic person who uses abuse, power, and control. Just classic. He went like, you could just check box. And really, the way you described it. I used to say, and I still kind of believe it this very day. I know it's not really true, but I used to think that people who use power control, they have a school that they go to. They all go to the same school, and they learn these behaviors somewhere. And I say it jokingly, but honestly, we know that intimate partner violence is largely intergenerational. So a lot of people learn it from their families. So as you said, Terrell is going to learn how to treat his partner because of how his father treats his wife.
Exactly.
That's absolutely beautiful. That's how we do believe in breaking the cycle of intimate partner violence. So really, really good. So speaking about breaking the cycle, Dr. Moss, what would you say, or what would you suggest for someone who's currently in an abusive relationship or unhealthy relationship? And I'm going to say that because a lot of people trip up over words. Oh, I'm not abused. No, not me. As you said, I'm in the church, and my partner, he's high up in the church. I'm not abused, because the word itself leads to a part of the denial for them, and not just denial, the inability to say I am a survivor or victim of this thing called intimate partner violence. So I want to say, whether a person listening to us right now, they recognize your story and they can think about it as, I'm in an abusive relationship. Somebody might want to downplay what you said, and they might be, well, man, I'm not. He's never put his hands on me, so it's not abuse. He may do some of those other things. So they may say it's toxic.
Mhm.
And especially a lot of young people, 18, 19, 23, they use that word. It's toxic,
Mhm.
and they don't connect that toxicity can be abusive. It usually is that unhealthy type of behavior. So for our listeners, whether you can see and hear from Dr. Moss's story that you're in a situation that is abusive, if you consider a toxic or unhealthy relationship, whatever the case may be, Dr. Moss, how would you give some words of wisdom? A lot of people don't want to use the word advice, but we're going to say advice. What advice might you give somebody in a current abusive relationship?
Well, for me, I believe going with your gut, because I had a feeling that I was being abused, but everyone else was telling me, everyone else was responding differently. So just recognizing if you feel like something's wrong, it
Mhm.
probably is,
Mhm.
because my ex-husband was, again, he was loved in the church and so forth, and everything. People had the perception outside that this could not be going on, and even when I approached some people, I didn't get the reaction I was looking for. It was kind of accusatory, to like, what's wrong with me, kind of thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I would also advise to find the right people to use as your support and to talk to. Um,
Mhm.
but if you have a gut that something's going wrong, um, don't ignore that. Go with it and seek out the right support. And that support sometimes might not be your family or your friends. And I'll share with you, and I won't say what family member, but when I shared my abuse with a family member, I got the reaction like, because they had built up a bond with my ex-husband. Like I say, he's so charismatic, you
Mhm.
know. Um, everything was like coming at me like, well, what did you do?
Yeah.
And so, so what I want to say is the supports may not be where you think they're going to come from. So for me, in my situation, I actually just left with a bag of clothes. I went to a woman's shelter for 2 weeks. And then I just finally broke down and told my father, and and then stayed with him. But just just know that you're not alone. That there are people that out there that will help you and support you, and just go with your gut and find the right supports.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm glad your father was there for you too.
Yes.
Yeah, and so now the next question, you kind of really already answered it. So it's
Hmm.
like, it was like, have you healed from the experience, or is it an ongoing process? And you did indicate that it is ongoing. And I like what you talked the statement you made about not like it, but your family member saying, "What did you do?" That terminology for that is called re-victimization.
Oh.
So that person is just being judgmental, and it's like you had to do something. What did you do? So
Yeah.
no. Why did I have to do something? But anyway, so
But can
I
I
think
speak to the ongoing healing process?
Yeah,
sure.
please.
Yeah. So that healing, even though I'm not fearful of my ex-husband anymore, but it has manifested in different ways in my life. The ongoing healing. I had a weight problem. I was
Oh
always
yeah.
thin, and then now I'm carrying around 50 pounds on me that I got to get off. Self-esteem issues at work. Up until recently, I always, I had something called the what do you call it? The syndrome where you think imposter syndrome. I don't know if you know that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So you never think you're good enough. So I've been like working under my potential. So I settle for less at work and then not get what I deserve monetarily, or or praise. Let people take credit for my work. I also I keep my circle close. I'm not I don't open up to a lot of people. I have a few close friends, and that's it. I have that barrier and that wall. And I'm resistant to, opening up. But so the healing is, even though the emotional part might be better, there's still things that I'm working with long term that I'm in the process. That's an ongoing process for me.
One of the things we say about leaving is leaving is a process. It's not an event. So is healing. It's a process, not an event. When you plan an event, Roxanne knows about planning events for sure. But when you plan an event, after the event, it's over. It's done with. Whether it was fantastic, let's say it was a 50th birthday party. Whether it was a fabulous 50th birthday party, all the guests had a great time, and we gave away little trinkets when they left, and we felt very proud of it. The next day when we wake up, it's done. It's over. We did a great 50th birthday party, but it's over. When we're leaving an abusive relationship, a controlling relationship, that process of healing continues with us. The message that someone we love gets inside of us that says, you're not. We can fill in those blanks. You're not good enough, pretty enough, sexy enough, thin enough, tall enough, black enough. We can fill in those messages that they send. You're not blank, right?
Right.
Don't get deep down in. And that's what you said, Dr. Moss. You said to our listeners, go with your gut, because that's where these messages get stored up, in our gut. A lot of people think they're in your head, they're in your gut. They live there.
Yeah.
And I'll say, I'm like Roxanne, I heard all your accolades. Congratulations on the master's and the PhD. But I don't know all of them, as she said, but I do know that when we talk about things living in your gut, we talk about diabetes, talk about high blood pressure, talk about sleep deprivation, talk about not being able to perform on the job because it impacts the way I feel about myself and see myself. I mean, it lives in our gut, so I got to just really, I'm going to let it go because I'm feeling something, but, go with your gut to reach out and tell somebody. It does not have to be the judgmental family member. It can be a stranger. That's why I wish I knew the number. There's thousands of hotlines nationally. If you call the number Roxanne gave earlier, that national DV hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE, they can give you a phone number to a domestic violence program nationally, wherever it is that you need to call. So find your safe moment in a time where you can reach out to somebody. That's the purpose of our podcast. Healing Space, live and online.
Yes.
Chat with Roxanne and Rhonda. So we're going to kind of start bringing it to a close here. And if you could just share, I think you actually share some tips on getting your life back on track. What are some things you would say to somebody that, you know what, because I use the terminology while you're going through. You're not stuck here. You're going through. You're going through domestic violence. You're going through this sexual violence. You're going through. However, you're not stuck there. You can move on. So what are some tips that you would say that can help people get back on track with their day-to-day life, day-to-day routine living?
Yeah. So what's helped me is I gradually changed my circle. I had to find groups that were positive or that would feed me, and offer that support. And so one of the groups that Roxanne and I belong to, that masterclass, there's other individuals in that group who, we support each other, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a abusive, physical abusive group, but just positive groups that feed the other parts of me that, that I've been laying dormant or whatever. So like I mentioned that I'm a writer. So that group helps me, fuel that in me. So I think finding the right support groups. Also, I have a strong faith, and leaning on my Heavenly Father has helped me to get my life back on track. And then I guess learning from others. I'm a student of people that are doing what I want to do. And I try to, not emulate them, but learn from them and how they got there and try to incorporate some of those lessons learned in what I do every day. So I don't know, did that answer your question?
Very thoroughly. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, the group that we're in, we're with like-minded people who have entrepreneurial spirits,
Right.
and we're feeding each other's spirits, and we support each other, go on each other's podcasts. I've seen, different ones, and we have one who makes cookies in a jar. I'm getting ready to make my cookies.
I bought those cookies.
Did you ever buy any of those cookies, Terry?
Oh, yes, I have.
I haven't made them yet because it makes 3 dozen. I'm like, I can't make 3 dozen cookies, but I'm going to an event.
Dozen.
Huh?
I take a dozen.
You know what? I'm sorry. You know what? I should have. But you know what? I'm planning on, since she said they're good, I'm going to get some more for the holidays. But I'm going to make those cookies jazzy, what's it, jazzy?
Jazzy treats.
Jazzy treats from New York. Yeah. Give you a little plug. But,
I do want to mention one last thing, if you don't mind. One of the things I do also is I've been taking some coaching, personal coaching for myself to challenge my limiting beliefs. I had some deep-rooted beliefs about myself because of this ordeal, and I'm learning to, through changing my mindset and how to look at things. Terrace 20 years ago would be a little bit more defensive if things happen, and so through that coaching, I've been able to grow and have a healing, like a mindset that produces more healing, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
Well,
So,
I'm sorry.
Rhonda, huh?
I'm sorry. Are we ready to close out?
Yes, I believe so, unless you have anything else.
No, I think this is good time. I again want to thank you, Dr. Terrace Moss, for everything that you have bravely shared with us. I want to just kind of give a summary of the things. If you please listen to what Dr. Moss shared, she said jealousy was one of the first signs it was there, that maybe she missed jealousy. She didn't recognize that. A lot of times we don't recognize jealousy and think of it as something against us. We just think, oh, they're so jealous, and we play past it. Also, some people think of jealousy as being cute or infatuating, because especially again because we hope we're reaching a wide age audience, and I know a lot of my younger women that I work with have said to me, well, if they're not jealous, they don't care. That's not true. Okay, if they're jealous, what they care about is what Dr. Moss said. They care about controlling you. Jealousy can lead to control, and it's a slippery slope, and it gets there really quickly. So really be wise and pay attention if you're noticing jealousy in any of your relationships, right? So she talked about that jealousy moved into alienation. Her family, her friends, she couldn't be with anyone. That's another sign that may happen early on in a relationship. And we can get it when someone's in our face, like, you can't be with your sister. I don't want you around your sister. But what we don't get is, oh, I didn't know your sister was coming this weekend. I planned a short getaway for us. I'm sorry, you think your sister will understand? And then come the weekend, you're ready for the getaway, and something happened. Something came up, But, I'm using that as a broad generalization. But you start to recognize that there's these subtle ways that this person interrupts your life and things that you're going to do or want to do, right? So those are things to really pay attention to for sure. And then Dr. Moss said one of the things that helped her was journaling. If you notice, she said, I started journaling, and now I teach people how to write. That's bold, y'all. That's okay. I started journaling my story for me. It was personal. And then I led on to teach people about writing and the impact it can have. That's beautiful. She also said she had some coaching, and she joined with groups that are positive, and as Roxanne said, like-minded, positive thinkers. So again, we thank you, Dr. Moss, for your time and your sincerity in sharing your story. And I got to just say the word again, your sincerity. This isn't something you go on the road to do. You said, this is something I'm just stepping out on faith. I'm just beginning to do this. So we thank you so much for taking a leap of faith with us here on our podcast to share your story. I always believe that those who speak boldly and those who share will help somebody. Because I would just take a minute and say, you just helped me. So I know I can say you have helped somebody because you've just helped me in something you shared today. So I thank you for that. And I also want to ask our listeners, if you've heard this story, whether it applies to you personally or not, please just share it with at least 3 other people. If you just tell 3 other people about this podcast that you listened to today and encourage them to listen to it. Sometimes you don't know the person you share with may be living a secret life. As Dr. Moss said, shame accompanies this thing called intimate partner violence. You don't know who you share it with may really be helpful to them personally. So again, thank you, and thank you. We really, really appreciate you. And I'm going to close and turn it over to Roxanne. My closing statement is, let's let the healing begin.
Yes, ma'am. And I totally agree with everything Rhonda has just said. And I too appreciate you, Dr. Terrace Moss. You are definitely helping others, as I mentioned earlier. So I want everybody to remember, if you need to talk to someone, please call the hotline number that we mentioned. Rhonda I got to hear. Rhonda knows it by heart, but it's 1-800-799-SAFE, and that's 1-800-799-SAFE. And if it's not urgent, but if it's urgent, of course, you need to call 911. We also want you to check out our website because we keep all of our podcasts are archived. You can reach them on our website at www.warheals.org. And that's WAARHEALS.org. You can follow us on IG at War Hills. I think it's War Hills _ and on Facebook at War Hills Podcast. And we want you to keep listening for Father's Day tributes that's coming up throughout the month of June, and how you can take the pledge to say no more to domestic and sexual violence. And I got one more thing I've neglected to ask Dr. Moss. Can you share with us your how to reach you? Do you have Instagram? Can we reach you on Instagram, or do you have any social media handles you'd like us to know about?
Sure, absolutely. To reach me on Instagram is at Online Learning Strategist. I know that's pretty long.
That's okay. Okay. I'll put it in the show notes so people won't, they can go back and watch this again or share it with somebody, and then you'll see the show notes in a couple of days.
Yeah. And you can also click into my website, which is www.mossconsultingllc.com. Either way is fine. Yeah.
Great. So now, normally Rhonda and we have a closing. And we're not in the same space today. And one time we tried it and we practiced, and it looked like we did it, and we look like we're in the same space. So we're going to do it anyway, whether it works out or not. So let's do it, Rhonda. Everybody remember that
we got
your back. See, now look at us facing down. Well, we practice. Let's see. Stay the way you were. Let me see.
We got your back.
Oh, well, whatever. Y'all got the message. Thank you so much. And this will be, you can access all our different platforms, and we look forward to you listening to us, sharing this information, and just engaging with us, especially on YouTube, because if you watch this on YouTube, you'll help us get to the stage of monetizing. So I was sharing with Rhonda 2 weeks ago, we had 2 likes, and we're up to like 15 now. Hey, we need 1,000 likes. 1,000 shares and 1,000 likes and 4,000 views or something. So we got a long way to go, but I too believe in my heart that we are going to get there.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Here are 2 things we would like you to do. Number 1, enter our monthly drawing by sending your email address to info@warheals.org. Spelled out, that is info@WARHEALS.org. Put drawing in the subject line. We will notify the winner or winners via email by midnight on the last Thursday of each month. Our second request, engage with us on IG. Follow, like, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms at warheels_ on IG, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. WAARHEALS_ on IG, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. As always, we thank you for listening and see you next week.